Welcome back to MSBI training sessions after a long break. I hope you enjoyed the break, and I think you went through the videos and you gained some knowledge or you practiced it. Okay. In last session we discussed about transactions and type of transactions like auto commit transactions and implicit and explicit transactions with examples, and we also discussed about how to find out whether there is any open transaction using global variable, that is @ trans count, and also using tbcc command, that is open trans. Now in this session, let's talk a couple of things related to transactions. Let's start with nested transactions. Is it possible to nest a couple of transactions? What is meant by nesting, first of all? This is quite common, frequently used terminology in any programming languages, like if you take Java, C# or something like that. So nesting is done very frequently. Nesting of if statements or nesting of for loops. This is what frequently we use in programming languages. Now, nesting in the sense having one transaction inside the another one. It's like subquery. Subquery is a nested one, right? You can nest up to some levels. In the same way, you can nest the transactions. And let's see an example. How it first, let's see how it looks. Begin transaction, and I'll begin one more transaction, commit transaction, and commit transaction. So if you see the inner one, this is nested in the outer transaction. This is the first begin transaction is the outer one, whereas the inner one is the nested transaction. So this is how you can go for n number of levels. You can nest so many transactions, but always keep in mind nesting of so many transactions will lead to confusion as well as the performance degradation. So you'll face so many problems, like if all the transactions are accessing the same data, it leads to problem. Now let's see a simple example how to nest the transactions, and you all know what will be the output of this particular statement. What will be the output of if I execute this select statement? What it is going to retrieve? It is going to retrieve the open transactions count. How many transactions are open at this point of time? Now there are 0. Okay. Now let's see how to nest the transaction and what will be the output if I execute the same command in the transactions. Okay. First, I'm opening a transaction. Before going to the nesting transaction, there one more word I want to say about these transactions. You can give names to the transactions. For example, begin tran T1 and commit tran T1. So this is how you can provide the names: transaction begin, transaction, and transaction name. Here the T1 is the name I have given to the transaction, and while nesting you need this. That is why I explained here how to give the transaction names. You can provide any name like tran1 or whatever the keyword, whatever the name you want to give, you can provide it here. Begin tran transaction name and commit tran transaction name, like it will be tran1. Now let's see, let's talk about nesting of transactions. Okay, let's see an example on how to nest the transactions. First, this query is returning 0. Why? Because there are no open transactions. I'm beginning a transaction, begin tran, I'll say T1, and here I'm executing the same query, tran count and commit transaction T1. So what will be the output if I execute this particular statement, if I execute all these 3 things? Actually, in the middle of begin transaction and commit transaction, I can provide some code like insert statements and delete statements to demonstrate the example. But before going to that, we're going to cover that. But before going to that, let's take this example, select tran count, and then we'll see that example. First, try to understand how the nested transaction works. If I execute this, when it is executing the first one, the first select statement, the open transactions is 0. And when it when the statement, the select statement, the second one that is executing, there was an open transaction, and that's why it was written 1. Now I committed the transaction, again the count will be 0. So that means a transaction is opened here and it is committed. That means that it is ended. Now I'm opening a nested transaction, begin tran T2, and I'm again selecting tran count and I'm committing the tran T2. So that means first at this point of time I'm checking whether there is any open transactions or not. Then I'm opening the transaction and then checking what is the number of open transactions, and again I'm opening the second transaction, keeping the first transaction open, right? And I'm checking the transaction count again. I'm committing this transaction, and here I'm checking what will be the count once I committed the inner transaction, tran count, and again I'm committing the outer transaction. Here I'll check what will be the count. So this is to demonstrate what will be the, whether it is opening a new transaction or not, whether it is opening a nested transaction or not. So if I execute these bunch of statements now, let's see what will happen. It is showing as 0, 1, 2, 1 and 0. That means, let me take the pen here. First, when it executes this particular statement, there are no open transactions, and here I am opening 1, and hence this statement is returning 1, and by keeping that 1 as open, I am opening another transaction inside the already open transaction, inside the open one. So here the count will be 2. You can see this count is the same. And here I am committing one transaction, that means the inner transaction will be ended here. So the count here will be 1. Why? Because it is -1. And I am committing the outer transaction, and you can see this has become 0. So this is how you can nest transactions. So the nesting of transactions, there are so many advantages of using these nested transactions. But before going to that, let's get the complete picture, clear picture on these nested transactions. Let me show you how this works. Let me take the pen. Let's say you have started a transaction here, and you have started a transaction, one more transaction here, and this is the third transaction. Okay. First, here it will be 1 when you started the transaction. Here it will be 2, the count. Here it will be 3. If you commit 1 at this level, then the count will become 2. If you commit 1, it will become 1. If you commit one more transaction, it will become 0. So this is how always remember the innermost transaction will be committed first. What is the innermost transaction here? The transaction 2. This will be committed first. And then the next outer one. And then the next outer one. Let's say I have T1 inside the T2, inside the T3, inside the T4. And if I write simple commit, if I don't specify any name, if I simply return a commit, then it will commit the first transaction, the innermost one. And if I write one more commit, that one will commit the next transaction. And if I have one more commit, that one will commit the third one. If I have one more commit, that one will commit the fourth one. This is the order it commits. Always remember, in the nested transaction, it commits the first one. Okay. Now let's see the same example using some queries. I'm gonna take some queries here. And if you want to see one more example, like having one more transaction here, I'm opening the transaction here. After 2, I'm adding one more transaction 3, and select the same count, and here I'm committing the transaction 3, and I'm selecting the data. Now it will be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 2, 1, 0. So you are having a loop here. Sorry, you are having a nesting transactions here. First, it will take 0, it will show 1, it will show 2, it will show 3, and it will be committed, right? It will be 2, 1, and 0. So now let's take a simple example. Create table. Let's say table name. I'll say test int id as int. Okay, a simple table, a pretty short table. Already the table exists. Let me go for test 1. Now what I'm doing here is I'm gonna use the same statements. Okay, I'm gonna use the same select and all. Instead of select statements, what I'm doing here is I am inserting the data, insert into test 1, the table I created, values. It takes an integer, right? I'm passing this one as integer. That means whatever the transaction count, it will be inserted. So I'll copy the same in all the places. Okay. So if I execute this, first it will step in and it will take the transaction count value. It will be 1 and it will be inserted into the test table. And if it is 2, it will be inserted into the test 1. If it will be 3 and it will be inserted into the 3. And finally, it will commit all the transactions. Let's see whether it works fine or not. It executed something, 3 records inserted, select star from test 1. So if you see 2, 3, 4, why? Because it has taken 2, 3, 4, 1 second. Guys, it is getting the select statement while inserting, it is getting 2, 3 and 4, and the same data is getting inserted into the table. And see here, if you observe, it is getting the, it is inserting this record here and then getting the new record and inserting here and here. This is, the values, I don't know why it is getting 2, 3, 4. I have never tried this, so this is first time I'm trying this example. I'll let you know why the problem is, where the problem is, or why it is showing as 2, 3, 4. There should be some reason. Okay. And what you have to observe here is how we can nest the transactions. Here you can have some conditions and some insert statements. Once it is done, you can have one more transaction. And if this is successful, you can have one more transaction. This is, in this way you can nest so many transactions. And the most important thing in the nesting of the transactions is the rollback part. What will happen if you apply the rollback? Generally, before going to the rollback, what will happen instead of committing the third transaction, T3, if I commit the transaction 1, that is T1? Will it commit everything or will it not commit everything? Let's see that example now. What will happen if you commit the outermost transaction first and then the innermost transaction? Okay. To see the same, let me copy this. I'm making some changes to the query. Okay. So the same old query. If you see, first this guy will return 0. Why? Because there are no open transactions. This guy will open 1 and the select statement will return 1. This guy will open one more transaction and nested transaction and the select statement returns 2. In the same way, this select statement returns 3. Here I'm committing the transaction T3. So what should happen? If I commit the transaction, it commits the innermost transaction. What if I give the first one here and then second one here and then third one here? What will happen now? If this guy has to commit, if transaction 1 has to commit, then the remaining 2 should be committed. Else it cannot commit. Why? Because if it commits, that means from here to here everything is done. the full transaction will be committed. If you see, this one should not be active. Committing the T1 means it should be committed up to here. That means all the inner job should be completed. What will happen if I commit this one now? If I execute the query in this fashion, what will be the output of this particular select statement and this particular select statement? Can you go for a guess or just try what will happen? Now tell me guys, what will be the output of this particular select statement? Okay, if you guys are saying error, okay, that's good answer. And any other option, any other guess? Yeah, I got different answers and good. What will happen is it won't throw any error. It will act just like it acted earlier. If you say 0, 1, 2, 3, and here it after committing the count is 2, and after committing the count is 1, and after committing the last one the count will become 0. The thing is, irrespective of the name, as I told you, it always commits the innermost transaction, and then the next outermost, the next outermost, then the next next innermost, like that it follows. Okay, it is not like if you give T1 it will commit the everything and it will throw error, something like that. It won't happen. It will commit the innermost one. Okay, now this is about committing part. What will happen if you roll back this particular transaction? If you commit all the inner transactions and if you roll back the outermost one, then what will happen is it will roll back everything. For example, to draw that, if these three are the transactions that are running, if you commit these, the first one, and if you roll back the second one, that is from here, then everything will be rolled back. Nothing will be there. So it depends on the outermost one. If the outermost one is rolled back, then everything will be rolled back. Nothing will be committed. No changes will be taken into consideration. Let's see a simple example. I have a select. Let me see what are the records that are present in this table. Test 1. I have 6 records, and in these I'm beginning one transaction and inserting a record. Insert into test 1 values. I'll give 10. It's an integer, right? So I'll give 10. Now I'm opening the second transaction. I'm giving 11. And I'm opening the third transaction. I'm giving 12. And I'm committing the first transaction, that is innermost transaction, that is the value with the 12, and I'm committing the transaction T2, and finally I'm rolling back the transaction, the outermost one. Roll back transaction T1. So now if I execute the same select statement which is there at the top, at the end, what will be the output? How many records will be inserted and how many will be rolled back? So I have committed this transaction here, the next transaction, the next innermost transaction here, and the first transaction I'm rolling it back. So if I execute this, the query, this is the first query, the first select statement. It is returning the 6 records, and the select statement is also returning the same old 6 records. Why? Because it always depends on the outermost transaction. Okay, if the outermost transaction is rolled back, then everything will be rolled back. Now let's see some magic. I am roll backing innermost transaction. Okay, roll back transaction T3 and roll back transaction T2, and I'm committing the transaction T1. Now what will happen? This is the reverse case of the earlier one. Earlier, everything was committing except the last one. The last one was rolled back, and hence everything was rolled back. And now the case is everything is rolled back except the last one, and I mean outermost one. The outermost one we are committing. So if you see, you're getting an error here saying that the T3 cannot be rolled back as there are no save points. See, it is committed the data. 10, 11, and 12. So it will take everything. The final one is the main. The main thing is what is the outermost transaction doing. If the outermost transaction is committing everything, then you can commit. Then the data will be committed. The innermost transactions will be committed. If the outermost one is rollback, then everything will be rolled back. So keep in mind, this is very important point when you are working with the nested transactions. And what will happen if I execute it again? The same error, you cannot roll back, man. Here it will say there is no save points, and hence you cannot roll back, and hence it is taking only the commit part that is present at the end. And if you see the results, you can see all the new records getting added into this. And if you observe one point, one error message here, it is saying cannot roll back T3, no transactions or save points of the name was found. What is meant by save points? So this is the next topic we are going to discuss about. Now, as you are clear about this nesting transactions, let's discuss about save points. Why? Because we are getting that error, right? So better to have a good idea about save points, from which you can expect a question in interview. So what is meant by save point? Save point provides a mechanism to roll back portions of the transactions. Let's say this is your transaction, right? From here to here, this is the complete transaction, outer transaction. If you see, this is the outer transaction. In between, you can roll back to some portion of it. From here to here, you can roll back, or from here to here, some portion, not the complete one. If you want to, if you say, let's say you have 100 records, after inserting 50 records, you can add a save point, and from 50 to 100, if there is any error, you can roll back to that save point. That means the 50 records, the first inserted 50 records will be there, but the second inserted 50 records will be rolled back. So to show you an example, one second. Let's say you are opening a transaction here, and you have some insert statements up to some insert statement. Let's say your job is to insert 100 records. After inserting 50 records, you have a save point here, and again 50 records. While inserting, you have written at the end, if there is any error in these 50, then you can roll back up to here. That means this is saved data. This is saved one, and these changes will be applied, but it will roll back up to this point only. It won't roll back to the complete transaction, that is starting of the transaction. You can roll back to a particular portion of the transaction. So that is the advantage of save point, and generally people use these save points if they feel if some data is cool, if it is inserting or updating properly, then you can save up to that point, and then you can roll back if any error comes after that. You can roll back up to the saved point. Now let's see an example for the save points. So I'm going to take the same example, trans count. The first one is select @trans count, and I'm warning you guys, you have to practice with insert statement. You can take 10 to 15 statements, and you can try the same. Don't blindly practice with the same @trans count, which will not give you any better idea on the save point. So better, and not only save points, even nesting transactions. So what you have to do is you have to work on real data. Okay, you should not go blindly with the same @trans count or global variable to practice the stuff. Okay. Now I have a start select trans count at the start, and I'm beginning a transaction T1, and I'm selecting the transaction. I'm selecting the same here. Select trans count. Now here I'm giving a save point. I'm saving the transaction up to here, that is save tran test 1 is the name I have given, and I'm starting the second transaction after that, and I'm going for the select statement again, and I'm starting the third transaction here, and I'm starting the again, and here I'm roll back to transaction. I'm roll back transaction, that is I'm rolling back to test 1. That is the save point I have created. Now if I go for I'm going here to see what's the trans count. Okay, I'm rolling back up to the test one. I'm not rolling back the complete transaction. Let's see what will be the transaction count. Generally, what you know, if you apply rollback, it will be rollback completely gone. It will be gone to the start point, right? Now, if you see this execution, there are so many open transactions, man. There are 4 open transactions, and it has become 5th. It has become 6th, and this is inserting value, and this is going back up to this transaction, and then it is getting the value. Just 1 second. It is taking 4, 5, 6, and it is showing 7. But why it is not going back? Why it is not rolling back to this particular transaction? This is what I'm looking now. Begin transaction T3. It will go till T1. Oops. Yeah, man. I mean, it is fine. If you see, I've inserted record 12 here, right? Before rolling back the transaction, and if you execute the same, you don't find the last executed or last inserted record, that is 12. These 3 we added last time, and these 3 we added last time. So it has rolled back up to here. If you have more insert statements, then you can easily understand that. So for explaining the same, the save points, I'm first deleting the data, or I'm truncating the table test. And let me start it from scratch, a simple query, a simple example for this save transactions with insert statements. I'm beginning the transaction first, T1, and then I'm inserting one record, insert into test1, values 1. Test1 is available, right? Yeah, fine. And here I'm selecting to see the same data. Select star from test1 to see what data is available at this particular point of time. And then I'm going for save tran T1 or test. So I'm gonna save the transaction at this point of time, and I'm beginning one more transaction, that is T2, and I'm inserting one more record into the table with the value 2, and then I'm saving the transaction here. Save tran test1 or test2. I mean, I'm not giving proper naming conventions, man. You may get confused, so I'll give better naming conventions. I will give it as S1. I'll give it as S2. And I'm writing select star from test2, test1 to check what's the data that is available at this point of time. Here, I'm beginning one more transaction, that is T3. Begin transaction T3. And then inserting one more record with the value 3, and then I'm selecting the data that is present in the table just to check. Select star from test1. Now I'm rolling back to transaction. I'm rolling back the transaction to the save point, that is test2, or sorry, S2. Now what will happen if I select the data after this? Select star from test1 after rolling back to the save point S2. Let's see what will be the data, and finally I'm rolling back the complete transaction. Roll back complete transaction, and then I'll see what's the data that is present here. So if you see the example, first I begin the transaction and I inserted one record into this, and I am selecting the data, whether it is inserted properly or not. At this particular point of time, what is the data in that particular table I want to see. And I'm saving the transaction at this point of time. If anything goes back, I can revert back up to here. so that I will have at least this data, the saved one. And I'm beginning one more transaction, and I'm going for value 2, and I'm saving the transaction as S2. And I'm selecting the data, what will be the data at this point of time. And begin transaction T3 and inserting one more record, and I'm not saving this transaction. I'm selecting the data, what are the data that will be present, and rolling back the transaction to S2 level. That means up to here, and then I'm writing a select statement to see what is the data. So at this point of time, this is very important for me. At this point of time, this should roll back up to here so that I should not have this record. Let's see that. And finally, I'm rolling back the complete transaction, and at this point of time, nothing should be committed. That means everything should have been rolled back. So let me execute this. Oops, I executed only one record. Let's see the select statement first. What are all the data that is present? What the hell? It is taking a lot of time to execute a select statement. Okay, fine. It has some records. Let me delete the data, truncate table test1, so that it will be clean. Now let me show you there are no data at this point of time. If I execute this complete statements now, first it has inserted 1, right? And this table is returning, this select statement is returning ID 1, and this one inserted value 2, and it is saved up to here, and you can see it is returning 2 records, and then we are inserting 3. This is inserted. So if you see here, first when this one is inserted, the first record is showing when I select the select statement, and when I insert the second one using the begin transaction T2, I have inserted one more record into the database, and you can see it is returning 2 records here, and the third one, it is save transaction. I saved the transaction here, and I selected the data. This select statement returned 2 records, and I started the third transaction here, and I inserted one more record, and you can see the select statement here before the rollback transaction S2, it is returning all the 3 records that are inserted into the particular table. And here I roll back the transaction up to the save point 2, that is here. What is the data? What is the data I inserted between the rollback statement here and the save transaction S2? That is only one insert statement, that is value 3, and that is reverted back here. You can see it has reverted, or it has rolled back to the save point 2. That means the changes that has been done from the save point 2 to the place where we are rolling back is reverted. You can see there is no ID 3. And in the same way, I'm rolling back the complete transaction. That means everything will be gone and everything will be reverted, and the final select statement is not returning any data. So this is how the save transactions can be used to to revert back or to roll back a part of the transaction functionality instead of going completely. So if you see in this example, I covered both the save transaction, save points, as well as the nested transaction. Why don't we make it in a simple way to explain the save transactions or save points with a different example. So I'm taking a transaction here. Before going to that, let me delete all the data. Delete from test1. I'm deleting all the data from this table. Fine, 0 records affected, there is no data. I have insert into test1 values 1, and I have a similar insert like let's say 10 times. Here the value, let's say the value will be the same, that is 1. I'm copying the same again here. In the middle somewhere I'm having a save transaction, save point, save tran. I'm giving the name as S1. If you see, before this save point there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records inserted, and this is the save point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again after 5 records I'll go for save point, that is save tran S2, and after that I have 5 records. There are total of 15 records. Now here what I'm doing here is roll backing up to save point 1. What will be the data in this table now? Select star from test1. After executing these above statements, for example, first it will begin the transaction and it will insert 1 record, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records it will be inserted, and then it will save the transaction, and again it will insert 5 records, and again it will save the transaction up to here, and again it will insert 5 records, and here it is rolling back to directly to this point, that means up to here. So whatever the data you inserted from that particular save point to the place where we are rolling back, everything will be gone. And this select statement should return only 6 insert statements which are inserted before the save point, until the save point, that is S1, right? And after this I'm rolling back the complete one, or else I'll do one thing, I'll roll back to S1 here, I'll roll back to S2 here, and finally I'll roll back complete thing. Select star from test1, and here I am finally roll back everything, that is the complete transaction. Again I am selecting the data to see what is present in the table now. So first it will insert 6 records. It will save up to save as save point 1, sorry, save point S1, and then it will insert again 5 records and save it as save point 2, S2, and again it will insert 5 records. Total it will have 16 records at this point of time. Before this transaction, I can show you that by writing a select statement here, select star from test1, and after that I'm rolling back to S2. That means I will come to here. That means how many records should be there in the database table? There should be only 11 records. Why? Because this part will be rolled back, and this select statement should fetch me 11 records, and rolling back to S1, that means it will go back up to here. That means only 6 records should be there in the select statement that I'm going to execute here, and after that I'm rolling back the complete transaction. That means here there should be 0 records in the table. Okay, let me execute the complete one. You can see how many records inserted? 16 records. This is the first select statement we have after inserting all the records. And let's see the next one. This one has only 11 records. Why? Because this has been rolled back up to save point S2. That means 5 records are gone. Now let me go to the next table. This is the third table, and I have only 6 records. Why? Because this has been rolled back up to the save point S1. Before that by that time we had only 6 records in our database. And this is the final one where I have rolled back the complete transaction, and you can see there is no data present. That means completely it is rolled back. This is fine. Instead of instead of this point, if I commit the transaction, last time if I execute the similar one, it threw an error saying that there is no save point. Now I have save points. Let me execute this now. You can see there is no error message, and first time it is 16 records, and after first rollback to save point S2 it will be 11 records. Up to here it is perfect, and it is rolling back to save point S1, that is only 6 records should be there. Fine. And then I'm committing those 6 records, and it is committing that particular 6 records. So if you want to roll back before the final commit, so then you have to, using the inner transaction, then you need to have save points that will help you a lot, and to save a particular piece of transaction if any error occurred next to that. If any error occurred in this middle, in this one, then you can roll back up to S2 instead of rolling back the complete transaction, right? So these save points provide you a feature to save part of the transaction, and you can roll back to a particular point instead of rolling back the complete transaction. That is, all the transactions will be lost if you roll back to the starting point. So you can make use of the save points to avoid such kind of damage. So this is about the nesting transactions and save points. Let's discuss a little bit about error handling, how to handle the errors here. For that, I'm deleting all this stuff. So we already discussed about how to handle errors here. There are a couple of ways, and let's discuss one way here, and the other one when we discuss about stored process, we'll have a look at about the other ways of handling the errors in transactions. The one way is making use of @ error global variable. Using this @ global error global variable, you can find out whether there is any error occurred, and if there is any error occurred, you can roll back. For example, I'm beginning a transaction and I'm inserting a data. Insert into test1 values 1, I'm passing into that, and here I'm checking some condition like if @ error is not equal to 0. If any error occurred, there will be one ID assigned to this this global variable error. So if it is not equal to 0, then roll back transaction. So this is how you can find out if there is any error occurred in this insert statement up to here. Then it will check here and it will roll back the transaction. Else you can save the transaction up to here as S1. You can save it. Once it is saved, you can insert one more record. Insert into values. Insert into test1 values. I'll say 2 this time, and again I will check for error. Error is not equal to 0. That means if there is some error occurred in the middle, if it is not equal to 0, then roll back. You can roll back up to the save point here. You don't need to roll back the complete transaction. You can roll back up to save 1. That means only this part will be rolled back, and the remaining things will be still present. The remaining things will be available in the data table, in the database for applying the changes to the data. Now this is done. You can have save point here like S2, and again you can insert the data. Insert into test1 values 3, and here I'm committing the transaction. If you see, I'm executing this. If there is any error occur, for example, if this is the only statement which is not perfect, which will throw error, then it will check this here and it will roll back, and it will go to the save point, that is, it will roll back up to the S1, that is up to here, and it will insert the next record, and finally it will show you the data. Before executing this particular statement, I'm removing the data from the table test1. Now I'll have a select statement at the end, test1, and I'm executing. It is saying invalid object S1, and let me execute. See, up to here, and while it is there, it has rolled back only up to S1, not up to the complete begin transaction. So this is the use of save points, and this is how you can handle the errors, right? And this is the advantage of save points as well as transactions. You can have multiple statements made as as an one atomic unit, and you can have save points like, okay, up to here save. This is one batch file for me. Save up to here, and if any error occurred in the next set of table, then roll back up to this particular save point. Don't roll back the complete thing. And this is how you can use error global variable to find out whether there is any error occurred or not. And there are so many other things who are still pending in these transactions, like the properties of transactions, ACID properties, we call it as ACID, and each one has its own definition and use. So we're going to discuss about the ACID properties and isolation levels, as well as locking and blocking and deadlocking in next session. Thank you, guys.